Okay, if you need a little help for this problem here, we're going to go ahead and go over it. Again, we're going to use our distributive property. That's in the tutorial video on slide 3. I did make sure that you had these arrows though to remind you to do that. So I'm going to rewrite my inequality. 16 is greater than or equal to, let me put that over there. Excuse me. And then I'm going to distribute my 2 to my x, so 2x, whoops, that's what I was trying to avoid, 2x plus 2 times 4, so 2 times 4. The reason I didn't put the 2x in parentheses is you just put them together, and that's multiplication. And now I'm going to go ahead and start simplifying this, bring down my 16, and then greater than or equal to, let's put that on there. Let's move over one more. Okay, 2x plus 2 times 4 is 8. And now I am going to go ahead and go through the steps that I need to solve this inequality. I'm going to look at this positive 8, and I need to do the opposite in order to get rid of it. So the inverse operation of adding 8 is minus 8, and I'm going to bold that. Normally you would write it underneath, but because I'm using the computer and not doing it by hand, it makes it a little bit more difficult on here. So I'm just going to show you how this is working. So I'm actually going to put it on this side, negative 8 right here. So I'm going to bold it so you can see that I am doing negative 8 on this side, and then what I do on one side I have to do on the other side, so I'm doing minus 8 on that side. So then I'm going to work the problem. 16 minus 8 equals 8. Then I bring down my inequality. Put the underline underneath that. 2x, and then 8 plus 8 minus 8 equals 0. And then what I need to do is I need to go ahead and I need to divide by 2 on both sides. So divide by 2, because right now it's multiplying 2 times x. The inverse operation is division. So now I have 8 divided by 2 equals 4 is greater than or equal to, put that on there, x. Okay, so now the reason I'm showing you this tutorial video is because we have something interesting right here. Normally, all of the problems that I have demonstrated with you guys, my variable has been on the left side. And there's something that I keep telling you about the variable being on the left side. So right now it's on the right side. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to flip this whole solution. So I'm going to put the variable on this side and the 4 on that side and flip the inequality, because right now it says 4 is greater than or equal to x, which means if I read it from right to left, x is less than or equal to 4. And I'm going to tell you why I flip it. I do it for a very specific reason. I flip it like this, so it's saying the exact same thing it was saying before. I do this because it's easier for me when I have to graph my inequality. So for instance, see this, just so, okay, let me write this out so that way you know. This equals the 4, and what was it, greater than or equal to x. Okay, so if you can see, these two are equal because the inequality is still pointing to the x. Do you see that? Just so you can visually see what I'm doing. This is what we had. We just flipped it, and it means the same thing. Okay? But for now, I'm going to delete that so it doesn't confuse you any further. All right, the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to first put my circle down. I look at my inequality symbol because it has a line underneath it. I know it's a closed circle because it's involving the 4. So I put it over by the 4. And now, this is why I always put my variable on the left side. I don't have to try and guess which way my arrow is going. This inequality sign is pointing in the right direction. All I need to do is go ahead and point my arrow on my graph the same way my inequality is pointing, to the left. So the reason, and then I'm going to stretch it out just so that way you know it goes for the whole line. So the reason why I always put my variable on the left is that way my inequality symbol points the direction that I need to be graphing this arrow right here. Okay? So if it was pointed in the other direction, it may be a little bit harder to figure out which way your arrow is pointing. This way you always know. So I always change the inequality so that way at the end, my variable's on my left side. It's much easier for me to graph. But if it's confusing to you, don't change it. You just have to make sure you read it. X is less than or equal to 4. So anything that's less than or equal to 4, that's what this graph is saying.